welcome back, welcome in. We're just getting started here on a live, and we'd like to give this just a few minutes before we start talking about our nightly subject. Let's scoot this thing a little closer. Hi. All right. Would you care to introduce yourself, ma'am?
Hi, I am Angela, and did you say your name already?
No, I didn't say my name. I'm Chris, or Christopher, whichever you should prefer. We are the Dinosaur Omelet. I hope that's coming in not backwards, but it looks backwards. Hope that's okay. So in forwards language, it says Dinosaur Omelet. So what are we talking about tonight, ma'am?
The hidden costs of keeping chickens.
Are there hidden costs to keeping chickens? That's why we're doing this, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not really free to do a whole lot of things.
Nothing's free.
So, yeah, there's some sort of cost.
Yeah, so this opening witty banter is just to kill some time until this starts to populate on the feed and people start seeing us, and to do a little intros and to let you know who we are. So guys, down in the description, I always tell you guys, check out, there's a ton of really good free info in the description. All kinds of education that we wrote by hand. We wrote here. I guess we didn't write it by hand. We wrote it on the computer. But it's good free information, and it'll save you a ton of time and really cut down the learning curve on the subjects that we cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
Cool. Welcome in, viewers. A little bit about us. If you're new here, welcome in. We do a lot of long-form education because we are a homestead channel, and the demographic of people that we're communicating with are self-starters. They're self-efficient. They're self-teaching. They're very independent-minded. You know, they accept challenges. So this kind of stuff appeals to that segment. So if you're scrolling by here, that's probably you, because of, what do you call it, the algorithm kind of fishes out for the people and gives you what most appeals to you. So if you're self-sufficient kind, homesteader type, small farm, whatever you're doing,
you want to learn new skills, you want to better the quality of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cover a lot of information. We've been doing this for, I guess, 3-4 years. Quite a while. We've been doing lives. We started out on Facebook, and now we're doing them here. We, right now, so actually what we started in and still focus in are our large jumbo quail, which are really great food producers. Again, if you don't know anything about quail, read this. It's free, and it's in the description down below. A quail raising checklist. Okay? It's down below with a whole bunch of other quail information. Plus, we've got a ton of videos on here.
Yeah, it's the most common questions along with answers on raising them.
Yeah, and we're getting swamped with people right now, I guess. We're getting a lot of... Why is that? Well, self-sufficient people, it's because eggs are very expensive, and people want to grow their own eggs. Even in a normal year, you know, the hatcheries get swamped.
Yeah.
Hatcheries are getting swamped
because
right
people
now.
are also learning about their health and the food system and wanting to have some sort of control to have quality food and not have food that's peppered with antibiotics or chemicals. So they're wanting to raise their own food as much as they can.
Yeah, I was going to do a live rant video. Maybe I'll put on the TikTok about food and Western diet, because I was talking to one of the AIs that I use when I do research. And I'm like, hey, you know, it seems to me like the American food or Western food system is specifically designed, it looks like, to make the consumer perpetually sick and to end their experience here on Earth prematurely. It was like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of us already know that. There's a lot of... I guess, food illiteracy in the general public, because people are not taught about that. But again, like you guys, the homestead people, you're a little more savvy. And a lot of the homesteaders we meet started doing the homestead or farmette or whatever they're doing because of the food.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a shame that the food's so bad. You're buying a new house just to live. So cool. I guess we can begin. It's always that 5-minute mark. Again, if you guys have questions or comments, pop in the bottom. I'm a very shy person. I have a hard time speaking. Just kidding. I like to teach, and information is really a foundation to personal growth, gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, what is the old man? He's experienced. He has wisdom. He has knowledge. As opposed to the young chap. He doesn't have the wisdom and experience. So what is the difference between a learner and a learned? I just read this quote, and it's true. The learner is good with memory. The learned is the one who applies the knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mr. Steve, who I've not seen in a while. I have personally very much benefited by learning from your channel. Oh, and I'm very grateful.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Glad to
awesome.
hear that.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I have this unfortunate negative view of the majority of the internet is passive and it's not very productive. And, you know, like our brains are designed to seek pleasure and that whole dopamine feedback loop.
Yeah, but then we're designed as a person, individual, to seek purpose, and we grow in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I like the homestead guys, like the homestead farmer, gardener people, like they're applying knowledge and producing something and having tactile feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, any more banter before this educational session?
I'm good at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
This is not going to be real technical. We've done a lot of technical type education, like health and disease and etc. Hi, Bill. Thanks for stopping in, bud.
Hey, Bill.
But as I was researching this, and a lot of this stuff, it'll seem intuitive. We're doing the hidden costs of keeping poultry, of keeping chickens specifically, but I guess some of this would transfer to quail, ducks, turkeys, etc.
Yeah. Animal husbandry.
But there's a lot of stuff that's important for the new chicken person too. And again,
Or people who are considering.
a lot of, especially those, if you guys are considering getting started with chickens, be aware of this stuff. Because we're very enthusiastic. We're going into a situation that we're, you know, thinking positively about, but we need to plan accordingly. And
Yeah, I think for those who have that moment, that experience where they are raising their chickens as chicks to with the intent of production and eggs, they get to that first egg, and for the people who feel like that first egg is like such an expensive first egg versus people who are like, oh my gosh, it's our first egg, we're so excited. You know, I think part of that comes down to the preparation in keeping these chickens and the expectation, just taking care of them, the cost with your time and energy, the cost and finances. So those who aren't necessarily planning or thinking things through, once you finally get to that point, that can affect the outcome of reaching the eggs.
I will have to wax philosophical yet again on an issue. A lot of what we experience is subjective. It's the way we interpret and view things. Again, it's very applicable in this homestead movement. People who are doing a self-sufficiency program, these are very lateral intellectual skills, okay? Being able to adapt your mindset to the situation you're in to, you know, get rid of the negative influence mindset and do something and turn it around positive to be productive. I mean, there's mountains and mountains of research that show the benefit of these simple mental practices. So even in this context. Super glad once again to have quail eggs. Awesome.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Because it's getting back into laying season too. It's going to be lighter and you can start cutting down the supplemental light. All right. The hidden costs of keeping chickens and the things you ought to know. So let's begin with, let's do that one, chicken feed. We'll just go down the line.
Yeah, that's fine.
So chicken feed. How much is chicken feed? So when you're getting chickens, a lot of times of course, you're going to have to feed them. But we just think of it as a bag at a time, and maybe not really have sat down and did the numbers on the long-term cost over a month or a year. Pretty much because, especially if you're not experienced, you don't know how much the birds are going to be eating. So you work with the mill. Would the mill be able to tell somebody?
Yeah, a mill would definitely be able, well, they should be able to give a person an estimate on if they have a certain amount of chickens, what type of chickens they are, and an estimate on how many pounds they should expect to be feeding them in a year. Yeah,
so when I said mill, if you guys don't know, so like a feed mill. Not like a feed mill, a feed mill. So the feed mill is getting in raw ingredients, raw grains, like real grains,
like
from
whole
the field, local growers. And so you've cut out so many points of transportation, which costs money. You've cut out many packaging and distribution hubs. So you cut out a lot of the middlemen. So it's much cheaper. Okay, you're not going to get a pretty bag with a glossy picture of a chicken in most cases.
Yeah. But it's going to be fresher food, whole grains. Just
Yeah.
off the bat, are going to be fresh because they are not compromised in any way. But if the mill is producing like crushed grains, anything like that, they're crushing the grains. So you can ask the guy or the girl, like, when did you crush these grains? And they'll be able to tell you how old the grain is. It's fresh versus sitting on a shelf for many, many months.
Yeah, we've done a bunch of information on chicken feed nutrition, but the mill's going to be cheaper. So when you're doing your scheduling for feed and what your cost averages are going to be, you may want to look into that, especially if you're having a larger flock. According to my research, so what is it? A 50-pound sack of feed from a regular shop can run $15 to $30, and that's just for standard feed, not the organic.
Yeah, and this is like
stuff.
like a typical box store kind of thing.
The tractor shop. So in a year, one hen will eat between 100 to 120 pounds of feed. Ideally, it would be great to be free-ranging these chickens part of the year, letting them scavenge for part of their feed, giving them scraps, safe scraps. Some scraps from the kitchen can be dangerous, like onions, avocado.
Or, but also giving them
Moldy
healthy
food,
healthy snacks too would be great for encouraging their production and health.
Yeah. So in short, if you're raising a flock of, let's say, this is the average of 10, let's say 10 hens, between $300 on the low end for the cheap feed, and you're supplementing to upwards of $1,000 or more with the premium feed, just for 10 hens if they're eating at that consistent rate, not being supplemented. So that's definitely something to think about, especially if you're budgeting and you're on a budget and you have a monthly budget you're looking at. You want to figure out monthly costs. Like, is it wise to get 10 chickens? Do I really need 10 eggs a day? Right?
Yeah, it would probably be a little less than 10 a day.
7.
But yeah,
6, 7,
yeah.
10. Well, they start adding up.
They do.
So that's something to consider. A lot of what we talk about here is planning, proper planning, and I guess avoiding the buyer's excitement where you stock up on more than you need, and then it becomes
chicken math is a real thing. People just they don't know how many chickens they have anymore because you can easily keep adding.
Yeah, you just don't want to be in a position where, especially with the quail, because they're tiny, people will get 50, 75 of them, and they really have need of maybe 30 or 20, and then they have this huge amount of eggs coming in and not using.
And then a lot of birds to feed.
A lot of feed.
Yeah, because they're eating.
Speaking of which, the quail eat much less. The quail's only eating a couple pounds per quail, per year. Not nearly as much as larger chicken. So yeah, definitely be aware of feed. I think we covered that. That makes sense. I hope that makes sense. If you guys want to know about what we do. Oh, speaking of whole grains, I want to show you a picture of whole grains. So we do make a feed actually ourselves. So we use actual whole grains in the feed, and the chickens like them.
Yeah,
your mill would have different grains if you want to get a scratch mix or something.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Number 2 on our cost breakdown, hidden cost. Steve said, me too. Now I have an even dozen quail eggs.
Oh, good.
Cool. Goody. Yeah, I like the quail eggs better than the chicken eggs. I always say that. All right, anyway. Coop and infrastructure cost. Coop and infrastructure. So this is coop season. If you look on Craigslist, the prices are going up. People are looking, and it's hard to find a coop. It's always this way in the spring.
People are now planning for spring, yep.
You guys want to hear a story? What was the story of the COVID chicken coop shortage? Remember?
Yeah.
Nobody could get them. Everybody knew the end of the world was here, and the only way to survive was with chickens and toilet paper. Oh, we had the toilet paper, but we couldn't find the chicken coops to keep our chickens. And people were shooting their hands full of nails by accident, trying to build their own coops. It was disasters. And or getting really cheap fall apart coops, like those prefab Amazon-y junky ones. So a chicken coop is something that, if you're doing chickens, get something decent, do it once, make sure it's a sound structure, and that it's predator proofed, and that you have a decent. You don't want to spend $500 on a coop that's going to kill all your chickens in a year, because you didn't want to spend $700-800 on building one or buying one that's going to keep them alive.
And if you do get something of lower quality, and that's really going to last maybe a year just because the integrity and the deterioration of the product with the weather. Just make sure to plan and be organized to replace the coop setup promptly, like have a plan, because a lot of you just hear the stories where people suddenly their coop is like collapsed or a predator broke into it because it's just
rips them
deteriorating, and now they have to suddenly get a coop because they just forget to replace it. So make a plan.
Yeah. All right, some of the costs with the coops, you guys. So buying a coop, if you're starting out, I mean, you can find cheap ones cheap. But again, you really need to know what you're doing if you're getting a discount lower cost coop off of Craigslist or the Facebook Marketplace. You want to really know if that coop's going to work, if you can shore it up, if it's going to need work to function. I'm not saying spending less money is bad, not at all. But if you don't know what you're purchasing, it might be disastrous down the run. Or have somebody you know who knows chickens take a look at the coops. So a coop's going to be running, on average, for 10 or 12 chickens, probably at least 1,000 biggins.
Hey, Verna.
Hi, Verna. Thanks for coming in. We're talking about the hidden costs of our chickens. The things that we don't expect when we first get them and how they wind up costing sometimes a lot more than we thought. With a $3,000 chicken egg, like the first egg. Okay, so coop costs, predator proofing. You're going to shore things up to make sure it's not getting vulnerable to the foxes and the raccoons that are coming around. What do we have? We have raccoons.
Yeah, raccoons, fox,
occasionally
mink.
Possums and minks.
Yeah, the destructive type animals are the mink, raccoons, and fox.
Yeah, but the raccoons are the ones that hang around.
Yeah.
So the raccoons are like bad neighbors.
And then they have those hands and fingers.
They're like little fuzzy bandity people. But they're cute. I would like to have one as a pet. I see too many pet raccoon videos. Okay. So additional costs, of course, you're going to have your water systems, stuff to keep the water from freezing in the wintertime. And those aren't huge costs, but, be aware of them.
That's a good point. Verna just said that raccoons can figure out latch locks. So like you might think, oh, the door is closed. This swivel lock or little, hook lock or whatever, it's closing the door. But raccoons are very smart, and you just want to make sure have a double lock system or a definite. There are raccoon-proof locks.
I think the raccoon on the Guardians of the Galaxy was based on regular raccoons.
Probably
so. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy raccoon. He was a smart little guy. Anyhow. So other costs, like I just said, feeders, waterers, automatic doors. Let's say I hate putting those chickens away at night.
Or waking up,
Or waking up early in the morning.
Or maybe you're going to work and it's just easier to have them open on their own.
Yeah, so automatic doors aren't hugely expensive. $100, $150. It depends what you're getting.
Yeah.
But you're going to make sure you're going to have electricity hooked up. Or if you're doing solar, make sure your solar is hooked up properly, and that's a cost. But it makes it convenient, and it saves time. So to me, that's a plus, that investment, because now your time is saved, and your time is extremely valuable. Pay for it once, and you're saving your time every day, most of the days. Especially, like chickens will put themselves to rest in their coop. They'll go back to the coop most of the time.
Most of the time.
Not your stupid puppies.
Yeah, well, some laying breeds will linger out even when it's getting kind of dark. So just some personalities do that, but yeah, generally they do put themselves in.
Once upon a time, not very long ago, we were at my brother's house, and it was getting dark, and I was like, no, don't worry about it. The chickens will be fine. By the time we get back, it'll be dusk. And Ansel was like, no, I'm going to get eaten by something. And didn't somebody get eaten?
Yeah, too.
Within that 10, 15 minutes of dark.
Yeah, because that's when they come out. Yeah, the predators.
I'll take responsibility, but that was a while ago. Okay. All right, so we talked about chicken feed, the costs there. It's a cost that we understand up front, but it does add up over time, and you want to consider that in your overall cost, especially if you're a numbers person and you want to break things down, especially if you're trying to sell or profit off of it. You want to know what your costs are. Coop costs, we just discussed. Now, health and vet costs. These are hidden costs. Angela deals with customers who are very particular about their chickens because she breeds very nice silky chickens, which are pets. So they would be taking them to vets
Yeah.
if they get sick.
Yeah, because they treat them like a family member, like like their dogs and cats, the silkies that my customers buy. Yeah, they're like a family member.
Yeah, and would be vet costs will come in. You don't want a sickness coming through your flock that you're not identified because they do spread. So vet costs can show up unexpectedly.
Yeah, and then also just I always encourage people to have like a med kit sort of thing
We
because
forgot to do that video.
oh
Sorry.
because there's just because anything alive, is susceptible to stress and illness and injury or any that sort of thing. So they're not going to stay in perfect condition. I mean, they can even injure themselves just like running in their pen or their coop and pull a muscle or something. Like, just anything can happen. So it's important to have some supplies available and things for their health, but that is a cost.
As well as an isolation area. I mean, which isn't a big deal, just
Right.
a box, something to put an injured or sick animal, especially sick. If they're sick, you definitely want to isolate them so they're not spreading illness.
Yeah.
And the same with injury, though. You want to have them immobile so they can heal.
Right. Yeah. Verna says, mistakes are not failures if you learn from them. Yeah, very true.
Exactly right. When my kids were little, I taught them, the first thing I taught them as little toddlers was failure training. I would have them do things specifically to fail so they wouldn't develop a negative association with failure.
Say an example with like the ball.
Oh yeah, I would have my little
Give
baby
them
girl
concept.
try to balance on a ball. Just
Like a
rubber,
yoga ball? Like
like a little rubber ball.
Oh, okay.
And she kept falling and kept falling. Saying, I can't do it, Daddy. I was like, okay, keep doing it. And she kept doing it, of course, and couldn't really balance. And I said, wow, that was fantastic. She's like, I couldn't do it, though. I was like, it doesn't matter. You kept getting back on. And eventually, you'll balance on there. So the fact that you persisted and you kept doing it shows, your resilience. And that's a wonderful quality.
And learning from like what's not working.
So Verna makes a very good point. Reminds me of my kids when everybody was tiny. And yeah, man, failure resilience, very important. And you're going to have failure raising birds or doing anything, really.
Yeah, doing anything. Being alive,
But you're going to experience, hopefully not catastrophic failures, but things happen. You know? And like I said earlier, it's the whole subjective way you interpret these
When
things.
you think about it on a greater scale, there's many people in this world who have become quite successful, whatever they're doing, or financially successful or whatever in business, and a lot of these people have failed like very, very badly and lost much. And then they turn it into something really good and positive and then educate and teach others to not do that. So, there's sometimes we go through really hard things, emotionally hard and physically hard, and might think like, what good can come from this? But there is, a conditioning of our soul, of us as a person, as we grow through something and then help other people. Like, a big part of being here is to love others and invest in others and, learning through those things and then sharing that knowledge and experience with others is a really good positive thing.
I should put that on the internet. There's too much negative out there. Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, we try to be nice while we're here. Life is short. Okay, that was very nice. Okay, health and vet costs. That's going to be an issue, and it's going to range. It may be something very minor, or you may have a major issue. And I guess last week or the week before, we're discussing the highly pathogenic avian influenza, which could wipe out an entire flock. I mean, right now it's not everywhere, but there's other diseases that can come through and get a bunch of chickens sick.
And birds are more susceptible to respiratory illness just because of the type of respiratory system that they have.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual, to experience that at some point.
Yes, the chicken respiratory system, I don't want to go into depth about that, but it's they don't breathe like humans. They have
or like dogs.
It's almost like a circular breathing system. They have air sacs on the side, and they're pulling in through the lung like a baffle system that's drawing air in all the time. It's very interesting. I mean, I should do a video on that to let you know how that their air system works. Okay, so health vets. Time. So the labor costs you might overlook, your time investment. So that is definitely something I think is underestimated. And it may not be an out-of-pocket cost, but if you're looking at it in economic terms, it's man hours invested. I'm going to put on the brakes before I go into that too deeply. Part of the reason we choose to do these things is because of the activity, the actually doing the things, like taking care of the animals and tending to them. It's not something that's a negative, or shouldn't be. Like, that's I think, a big part of what we're doing. So the time investment, you are investing time, but that time should be a return of investment to you personally. But since we're talking about this, you're going to be daily caring every day. You have to, like I said earlier, let the creatures out or let them in, unless you have that nice door that does it for you. But
and then, of course, it's not just a matter of releasing them, feeding them. You're also taking that time to inspect your animals, make sure everybody looks okay. Yeah. That's part of that investment.
Cleaning waterers, filling waterers.
I always thought that was weird.
So yeah, you're spending time coop cleaning. You need to keep your coops clean. It's not a job people like to do, but if you don't do it, you're going to lose all your chickens due to respiratory illnesses and other diseases.
Or they'll just their health will decline, production and eggs will decline, and it'll just be kind of like,
oh my God, can you imagine that? Spent
ill.
$3,000 on a chicken house and got all these chickens, and
they're not laying anymore.
6 of them are gone because I'm too lazy to clean out the coop. So definitely clean out the coop. It depends how often you're going to be doing that, depending how we have a droppings board. So, the chickens roost at night and they'll go to the bathroom on a board, and
It's a board that's slanted with a lip on it underneath that's raised.
I have it.
The bedding is underneath the board. They can walk underneath the board, but they'll jump up on the roost and then perch above the board. So when they are on the roost, they go to the bathroom onto the board instead of in their bedding, and then we can just scrape the board clean. It's an easier way to keep it clean.
I did one of these videos, a regular video. I did a walkthrough of our chicken house, and you can see that there if you want. But that's a little off track. The whole point is you're spending time to make sure the place is clean, not like laboratory sterile, but not soiled.
But tidy.
Yeah, tidy, clean. You don't want it soiled and starting to collect,
damp, and
that'll make them sick, and then you'll lose the animals and they'll get sick.
Yeah.
And people do that. They don't realize, because they're new to chickens. They don't know. They're like, oh, they're just crapping in a bunch of straw. They're fine. No, it starts to add up. All right, so cleaning does take time. That's a time investment. Coop cleaning, repairs do need to be made. Tree limbs will fall down and break fences. Like door hinges get weak. Stuff rots off. Like locks or hinges, if they're screwed into wood, they can start to, just because it's metal, it'll accumulate moisture because of the temperature difference, and it can start introducing rot in there. But hopefully that's not happening too often. That's just an example. There are repairs you do have to commit to, and upkeep, unless you're paying somebody to do it. Then there's more money too. So that's a time investment. Anything else that I didn't list in my notations here?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not complicated. And all these things that we're mentioning isn't like to be like, ooh, don't get chickens. No, it's just
get chickens.
Just it's just things that to
be aware
of, and responsibilities and such that will be needed to be considered.
Yeah, my whole thing, I guess our whole thing here is plan properly.
Yeah.
Plan. Knowledge. This is why we do the knowledge education stuff. Have information. You're not going to retain everything that you're seeing or hearing, but little things start filling up your brain, and you're like, oh yeah, before I do X, Y, Z, I should really do this.
Yeah, we're really not into the whole hype or like get people like super excited about stuff without being realistic, or like pros and cons, and consider this and consider that. I'm the kind of person where I value when people are sharing, more of a bigger picture.
Yeah,
something. So.
I just met one of our customers, very nice dude, and I told him I'm not going to treat somebody like they're an idiot, because if somebody's treating me like an idiot, I can see through that. I don't see the point in doing that. Like, facts and logic and reason and what's correct. Let somebody with their own free will make decisions. All right, another big cost issue that people.
I would say this is one of like major one potential.
Well, why don't you discuss it? I'm gonna get water. I talk too much. I'll be right back.
So the next one is predators and losses. Predators taking out your birds and then having to replace those birds. So the poultry, whatever birds you have, chickens, ducks, quail, whatever you have that's susceptible to predator interaction or my point is, I'm sorry, is that the poultry are prey animals, so they really don't have a defense.
Well, ours do. I put a little minigun on top of the chicken house with,
and they
with motion sensor. Yeah.
As a bird, the bird is not equipped to defend itself really against predators, particularly at night, because they can't see. The birds can't see. They're just gonna sit and not move, really.
Yes, their wild cousin, Mr. Jungle Fowl, the one chicken that all the chickens come from. That's what do? They go up in the tree.
Yeah,
right. They
and
roost.
That's a precaution. Yeah, that'll protect them. But yeah, so predators. There's different times of the year where it's more common, like springtime when they have babies to feed and they're hunting for more mouths to feed. And then there's the colder months where food might be scarce for the predators and they're looking for an easy meal.
Definitely this time of year, keep an eye open for, if you have birds, predatory behavioral patterns and feeding changes. So they're going to start going in different territories. I mean, they live in their area, but they're going to be looking for new food for the kids.
And I've seen lots of people who they don't lock their chickens up at night, like they don't close the coop door. They've never had predator issues. You know, they've had chickens for years and no issues, and then all of a sudden one day all their chickens are gone, and that's because a predator moved into the territory, you know, because predators are reproducing. So either the birds became discovered by an existing predator or predators moved in. So yeah, it's best to be prepared, protect against the possibility of predators, than to experience the predators without any precaution.
And tonight we will be watching Predator.
Because they're just, certain ones can be brutal, like mink, for example. They'll just like slaughter all of them and won't eat the birds.
There is a proportional ratio to how cute the animal is to how vicious it actually is in real life.
Yeah.
The cuter and the smaller, the more vicious and detrimental. So the mink is the worst.
And then, of course, you know about the foxes. The foxes can be pretty brutal too. But point is, make sure, you know, you're going to be spending some time and energy and finance in reinforcing the structure, the pen, with holes and an apron around the fencing so that animals can't dig under, depending on your setup. Yeah,
it's time and effort and money, but it's all part of the experience. And the thing is, it's supposed to be a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Side note, as far as rewarding experience goes, and I talk about this all the time, this should be a family effort. Get the kids involved. It's a growing learning experience. If you guys have kids or grandkids, it's great to have them start experiencing this stuff and learning. You know, we learn through experience. We are what's called, what do you call it? So tactile, cognitive, or cognition, or experiential creatures. We need a frame of reference of experience to understand things. So when we do things, we gain context to what it is we're dealing with. So it's great for kids because you get them started young. Anyhow. Okay, so we talked about predators.
I didn't mention the cost of replacing hens.
So let's say I got 20. Let's say I had 10 chickens and 5 of them. I come back, all my nice Wyandottes are eaten up.
Yeah, so depending on where you purchase your birds from, whether it's going to be like a small breeder who's like a hobby or whatever, or a hatchery, or a professional breeder who is focusing on the quality and health of the animal, and the type of breed you're buying, you know, that can really vary in price, and also the age. If you're buying like egg laying ready, that's going to increase the price of replacing a bird.
Significantly.
Yeah.
For an egg-laying age bird versus a chick. Because that's 6 months of work that
but
somebody
then
did.
for you, then it's 6 months of investment. You're going to then you're going to put into the chick. So it's time, money, and effort on your part.
Who, if you didn't predator proof, will just get eaten up sooner than they're big enough.
Yeah.
So we need to predator proof. That's a big issue. Yes, so replacements of birds. Well, first of all, it's emotional. Most people are attached to the animals. They're their pets. They have names. Ugh, and then the kids see them. It's traumatizing. Like most kids who grow up on a farm have the traumatizing my chicken or my rabbit or some pet / farm animal was eaten up overnight. And they always remember it. So it's pretty bad stuff. And we get attached to the animal. So there's an emotional cost that we invest in these creatures. And that's good. You know, it becomes like they're part of the family.
Yeah, you should be emotionally invested. Yeah, make sure that the animals are loved and cared for and have their needs met.
Yes, we respect the animals. Okay. So egg production and cost per dozen eggs. That's something I wanted to add here because of the egg issue currently. I mean, they're going up in price. Everybody's aware. So egg production and cost per dozen. I'm not going to read a million different numbers to you guys. But a healthy hen's laying, what, 200, 250?
Yeah. For a breed that's known for laying eggs, it's going to be like 250 to 300. But a good layer is going to be 200 a year per hen.
Yeah. So about 250 to 300 eggs, depending on the chicken. So with the regular feed, we're feeding to them. You're going to be paying about $1.50 to $4 per dozen for your eggs at home. And that's, again, I'm not going to go through all the number breakdown. That's with feed, housing, etc., and all these upfront costs. So at the end of the year, we're looking at a couple bucks per dozen, like comparable to a store. The whole point was the cost of your eggs at home, if you really do the numbers and look at it, and I agree with this, with the numbers I researched, it's going to be comparable to a store or more likely more expensive. I would like to say my eggs are $50 a dozen after my time is invested in everything. But you're probably going to be paying comparable to what you would get it at a store, even at the high prices today of $6 a dozen. But they're healthy eggs. They're made on your property. They're self-sufficient. They're reproducing. You can actually start, if you wanted to, have a little side biz with hatching, if you're going to really do a breeding program with animals, or even just the roadside egg sales. Although I'm a little curious about that now. I bet people are swiping them for free.
I don't know. Hopefully not.
People like to thieve. So yeah, eggs can cost, even your at-home eggs, you're trying to save money on eggs, but what's happening is you're paying probably comparable to the same amount. You don't perceive it when you're picking up 12 eggs out of a chicken house. You're like, oh, look, 12 free eggs. Because you're not thinking, oh, wait, I bought a 50-pound bag of feed last month. I had to install a door here. I had to do this. You're not, it's not intuitive thing we're going to recollect.
Verna said, but your home-raised eggs are healthier for you. Eggs are richer in color, etc. And yes, that is, we 100% agree with you. We go through what the lengths of effort that we put forth in caring for our birds and giving them healthy foods because we value the quality of our food. And you're right. You're absolutely right. The eggs that you raise are going to have so much more nutrition than what the eggs at the store does, because those birds raised for that high production in those cramped areas and the food that they're eating, their health is not good. So
yeah, and the eggs actually, they do have they're nutritionally deficient compared to your home raised eggs. And that's
so we're not saying I'm sorry.
On the internet. So the poultry industry is going to tell you, oh, this guy's an idiot. No, our chicken eggs raised in concentration camps are great. They're just they're rich with vitamins and nutrients. They can't be. They can't be. First of all, your chicken that's free ranging is going to be eating a variety of foods that it's designed to eat, like especially if it's free ranging. So the metabolic pathways inside of the chicken, or the metabolic process inside the chicken, are going to transport those nutrients to where they need to go. You do have more nutrient-dense eggs, and more importantly, they're not going to have all the other stuff they put into the chickens, growth,
the antibiotics and such.
Something to, what do you call it, growth hormone and the antibiotics.
Yeah, and So you can affect what they're eating, even if you don't free range them. You can incorporate healthy feeds, but even setting the feed apart from the health benefit of raising your own versus a concentration camp chickens and these plants, the bird is going to be happier and healthier that you're raising because they're going to be in the sunlight, they're going to be touching the ground, they're going to be interacting at a good distance space wise from their friends. So they're just going to be just the health of the bird itself, setting aside the food quality, is going to affect the quality of the eggs.
Two things, or three things actually. Number one, we were talking about earlier, there is a transfer of antibiotics into the egg. So that, and I wish I had, like when I do research, I go to academic resources because you can find them, like universities or whatever the associations are, and you can get academic resources and not just some guy on a, bulletin board. Well, I heard that chickens did this. No, like you want to get good information from good sources. Anyway, yeah, the antibiotics do transfer to the eggs. The eggs are more nutrient dense. And what was the other thing you said?
The health of the bird?
Health of the bird. Yeah, not. Oh, the thing was, once you start learning about this stuff, like you're getting involved, you're growing plants on your yard, in your garden, or you're growing your own eggs, you're gaining education, you're gaining knowledge, and you're having contextual experience that has meaning to you. You're like, oh, this is healthier food. A lot of the other food I've been eating isn't like the food I'm growing, and you start to understand.
You understand the soil quality and what is making that fruit or vegetable nutritious, and how lots of vegetables at the store they're deficient in nutrients because the soils are stripped that they're grown in.
So what is that? Let me tell them about the soil.
Wait. Let me finish.
Don't let me forget because I got no brain.
We're talking about the cost of raising chickens and such, not to discourage, it's to get perspective. But a lot of times people will go into chickens thinking the reason I'm getting chickens is to save money or to save, whatever. But the reality is when you're breaking down, caring for them and your effort and your time and all of that stuff, it's not really a savings with money necessarily, but it is a savings. You're investing in your own health with what you're eating, and you're producing, quality food. And that affects you and your health because, when you're eating poor, bad stuff, it's going to suppress your immune system. You're going to be more susceptible to being sick. And, anyway, that's a long...
Kids at home, I'm going to give you some advice. Do not quantify the value of one's life strictly through finance or economics. We are trained to do that from a young age with, i.e. success equals X amount of dollars. And I think we all know very well economically successful people who are miserable. So, like, to me, no, life is about... I'm not telling you what I believe or any of this to try to transfer onto you, but, we are experiential creatures, and we look for quality or satisfaction in life. Doing these things at home is going to give you a quality of life, especially if you've not done it before and you start to invest in that and understand it into context that you're engaged in. It becomes, it changes your mindset. And it becomes a valuable experience. Now, the thing I was going to say about the soil, real quick. This is interesting, kids at home. I don't think there's any kids at home actually watching.
I don't know.
But, okay, so when you're eating the plant and the animal eats the plant is getting nutrients from the ground. But the ground isn't what's supplying most of those nutrients. It's the bacteria and the organisms in the soil. So when we say dead soil, we don't just mean there's no nutrients in the soil. We mean like the organisms aren't in abundance enough to regenerate and put those vitamins back in. So we teach a lot. We do like fermenting foods, and we talk about that. And what happens is the bacteria, as a metabolic byproduct, when those bacteria are eating, they spit out vitamins and these different enzymes and things are coming out of them that go into the food, the fermented food, or in the case of the soil, are being introduced to the soil, and the plants are absorbing that, and then the animals are eating the plants. I mean, I could do a long 3-hour lecture about different components of food and food nutrition
Yeah.
and all that, but I'm not going to. But it's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about egg production, hidden
Yeah, you were talking
costs.
about the price of
All
the
right.
eggs.
Yeah, so yeah, eggs are going to be comparable, probably more expensive than the store, but the satisfaction and the reward of what you're doing should outweigh that. Plus, like Vay said, they're tastier and they're better for you, and they're happy chickens. And you have control of your food.
And the point that you made, that when you're raising like the vegetable plants, like you're more invested, just like raising the birds, you're more invested in the process, the care, and you're learning about why you're doing what you're doing. And you'll start thinking more about what you're eating rather than it being like a mindless thing. And then people will talk about the quality of food being like, it tastes better, and it does, but why, and how does that affect you personally? And we already touched on your health, and I think like that can just kind of go through one ear and out the other. It's just sometimes people eat like foods that don't benefit their body for such a long period of time that they don't really know what it feels like to feel good. And so when you start eating these healthy foods, your energy is going to get boosted. Your body's going to start getting what it needs. Obviously, you eat more than just eggs, but it affects your body, because just like we talk a lot about, animal husbandry and giving them what they need so they have a good quality of life, they're healthy, they're happy. Same with you. Your body needs a certain thing so that you're operating well and happy. And yeah.
It's true. I think we'll just end with that because I'm going. Yeah, the food is exceptionally important. I tell people all the time, like I'm almost 50. I'm 49, right? Extreme energy. I sleep well. I don't take any medications. Everything's clean. I have a very good, health. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it's a consequence of putting the material inside of the metabolic processing machine, human body, that it was designed to. And I try to limit the toxins, the crap that comes out of crinkly bags. And after doing that for, a couple decades, I feel great, right? And that's why I tell people this. And it really definitely does affect your mood, your energy level, your relationships, everything in your life.
This can be quick. Like, you can notice the differences rapidly.
Days,
in eating better.
within a few days, if you eliminate the toxic crap.
Yeah.
Like your body does not store up, like, what is this, detox? Oh, I'm going on a detox. If your body didn't naturally detox, you would die. Like if you collected and stored toxins in your body, they would accumulate until you were no longer being alive. So I don't know why people say this. We're very efficient at detoxifying. When people go on detox diets, what they're actually doing is no longer putting chronic toxins in. Constantly eating junk, and your body's constantly like, oh, give me a break. And finally, they go on a detox diet, which is actually, I'm not introducing chronic poisons into me. Oh, I feel great. I detoxed. No, you didn't. You just got rid of the toxins you kept putting in. But, by the way, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or any of these academic things. I'm just entertainment purposes only. But as a science experiment, I've done this on myself. I feel great. I go biking, hiking, and all this stuff. I've, recovered from major injuries, and to mindset and food. And like, it's not, oh, you're just a positive person. No, I'm not. I'm a miserable bastard like anybody else. I have downtime too, right? It's a mindset thing. And anyway, enough of that rant. So eat well, enjoy your farmette, your homestead, your hobby. If it's just something you're doing on the side, learn about it. And incremental change, dramatic change, you go right back dramatically as quickly. If you do it incrementally and slowly, over time, you do change. You may not notice it at first, but it does add up.
Yeah, and make a plan. Consider the different costs and such to get set up or maintain over time, whatever animal or chickens that you're keeping. And that will help you, and it'll help them. So then it'll help alleviate any kind of potential stress points that could be avoided.
Yes. All right. I'm going to end this with the conclusion of this whole presentation, which is it worth keeping chickens? Right? Yes and no, depending on the person. Yes, if you find a reward in the things we were just talking about.
Caring for animals, having a production of healthy eggs.
Having something to do to bring the family together, a cohesive thing to do together. Yeah, if you're expecting to get eggs cheap, no, because you're going to be laboring. And the whole point is the journey is the point, not not the eggs. It's the process to get there, like anything else. It's never the end, it's the process. So the process is the reward, but you also get eggs too, and that's a nice reward. And why wouldn't you start chickens if you're expecting it to be a simple thing where you just buy birds and you go out to a coop and you collect them and it's not a lot of work? Because like you were talking about, people get overwhelmed and they quit.
Yeah.
To get rid of their animals after
And a
months.
big reason is just, there wasn't really a plan that had perspective and an understanding of what they were getting into.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, if you guys are new to our channel, please feel free to subscribe. And yeah, we do live videos weekly, and then we do other educational videos as well. But if any of this is interesting or you have questions or comments or personal stories that you want to share, please feel free to put in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys and answer questions. Verna says they don't realize to start small and grow as you gain knowledge. Very true.
Yeah, 100%.
The chickens, when the critters are babies, usually they're small and cute and easy to handle. And then, yeah, they grow and their needs change.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, Verna on Vay's Place. If you guys are watching, if you see in the comments, go to her live. Verna, to be honest with you, I think you're the only live I watch. Is that true? I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't really watch many live videos, but I watch hers. What do you do it on Saturdays usually? Yeah, so check her out. Or Sunday. I don't know. I watch them on the weekend. And Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time.
I'm usually we do stuff in the morning and I make breakfast later in the morning. So I'm usually doing that, viewing at that time. Okay, guys, I think this is fabulous. I would like to watch Predators since we talked about Predators. Greatest romance movie in the history of romance movie, Predator, which a lot of women don't see, but it was that relationship building between Dutch, a.k.a. Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the young woman he found in the jungle.
Or it's either that or The Fly, where he's always trying to tout that as a romance.
Great romance movie. It's about love set in a science fiction
All about love.
universe.
Anyway, thanks guys so much for watching.
See you in the next
See you
one.
again.